showed you in my slides. I showed you this tunnel. I told you there is another 3 tunnels. I will show you the 4th one. And this is what I found out, that as we look at the Sphinx today.
Moments before stepping away from public life, Egypt's most famous archaeologist, Dr. Zahi Hawass, said something no one expected.
This is an important message from me. Great discoveries is happening. I will reveal many secrets never published before.
For decades, he denied the existence of hidden chambers beneath the Great Sphinx.
We saw this passage going down in and under the Sphinx.
Now he's admitting there's more below the surface than he ever revealed. According to Hawass, recent scans uncovered something sealed in the bedrock, and he warns the truth about what lies there could rewrite everything we know about ancient Egypt. The man behind the mystery. His name is Zahi Hawass, Egypt's most famous archaeologist, and the man who has spent a lifetime standing guard over the sands of Giza. Born in 1947 in the quiet town of Damietta, deep in the Nile Delta, Hawass came from humble beginnings. But even as a young man, he felt the pull of Egypt's ancient past and the need to uncover its buried voices. Through relentless work and unshakable pride, he rose to become Egypt's chief of antiquities, the ultimate authority over every tomb, temple, and artifact in the country. With his wide-brimmed hat and larger-than-life presence, Hawass wasn't just an archaeologist. He was Egypt's storyteller, its defender, and sometimes its gatekeeper. He fought to keep Egypt's treasures in Egyptian hands and refused to let foreign powers shape the story of his ancestors. To some, he was a hero. To others, a man guarding history too tightly. At the center of his world stood the Great Sphinx, carved from a single ridge of limestone 240 feet long, 66 feet high, gazing forever toward the rising sun. Most scholars agree it was built during the reign of Pharaoh Khafre, roughly 2,500 years before Christ. Yet, unlike the pyramids beside it, the Sphinx carries no inscription, no name of a builder, no clue to its true purpose. The first written reference appears more than 1,000 years later. Pharaoh Thutmose IV claimed the Sphinx spoke to him in a dream and promised him the throne if he cleared away the sand that buried it. Even then, the monument was already ancient and mysterious. But time left its own signature upon the Sphinx. Deep vertical scars etched into its flanks revealed something no one expected: erosion by water, not by wind. If rain had carved those grooves, then the Sphinx must have stood during an age when Egypt's climate was lush and wet more than 5,000 years ago, long before the pharaohs. Could it be older than the pyramids? Could it belong to a forgotten people who lived before written history itself? For generations, legends have whispered of tunnels and secret halls beneath the Sphinx vaults filled with scrolls, treasures, and knowledge from a lost civilization. For decades, Hawass dismissed these tales as fantasy. But as technology evolved, as machines began to peer beneath the bedrock, the impossible started to look disturbingly plausible. And for the first time in his career, Egypt's greatest skeptic began to wonder, what if the myths were true? This was no longer only about science. It was about legacy and the possibility that the truth beneath the Sphinx could rewrite everything we know about civilization itself. Then came the moment that changed everything. Hawass revealed that new evidence had emerged, evidence he could no longer deny. Ground-penetrating radar, the same technology used to map what the human eye cannot see, had uncovered strange geometric shapes beneath the Sphinx. Symmetrical voids, sharp edges, and regular patterns that did not belong to nature. He kept this discovery quiet for years, but the data grew stronger, clearer, and impossible to ignore. Beneath the Sphinx's northern paw, the scans showed large rectangular cavities, spaces that looked less like cracks and more like rooms. In the early 1990s, the first radar scans were carried out to study the monument's stability. At first, only a few scientists took notice. But when reports of the mysterious voids leaked, the world exploded with speculation. Newspapers shouted that the legendary Hall of Records had been found. Followers of the American mystic Edgar Cayce claimed his prophecy was fulfilled, that the ancient wisdom beneath the Sphinx would be uncovered before the end of the 20th century. Television crews and journalists flooded Giza. Cameras rolled day and night as the world demanded answers. Hawass stepped forward, calm but firm, reminding everyone that radar could be deceiving, that strange shapes beneath the earth did not always mean ancient chambers. Yet privately, his curiosity consumed him. He wanted to know the truth. In 1997, under the cover of secrecy, Hawass authorized a quiet investigation near the Sphinx. Working with American scientists, the team used advanced equipment to probe deeper than ever before. What they found was astonishing. At a depth of roughly 25 feet, the instruments detected large pockets of empty space directly beneath the northern paw. The outlines were smooth and regular, as though carved by human hands. One reading even hinted at a possible doorway. Before the findings could be made public, everything stopped. The Egyptian government, alarmed by the international attention and wary of foreign involvement, ordered the project to shut down immediately. Permits were revoked. The shafts that had been dug were filled in with sand. All documentation was sealed away. The desert reclaimed its secret once more. Hawass, loyal to his position and his country, obeyed. But inside, he was conflicted. He had spent his entire life searching for the truth, yet now he was helping to hide it. The discovery had become more than science. It had become a matter of national pride, politics, and power. For Zahi Hawass, the mystery beneath the Sphinx was no longer just about archaeology. It was about who controls history itself. For some, it was about protecting Egypt's legacy from outsiders. For others, it was about revealing evidence that could rewrite the origins of human civilization. If the Sphinx truly concealed the remnants of a forgotten world, older than the pyramids, older even than dynastic Egypt, then the story of humanity would have to be rewritten from the ground up. And so, for nearly 30 years, Hawass kept his silence. The sands above the Sphinx remained still, but the truth beneath them refused to sleep. Because secrets, no matter how deeply buried, always find their way back to the surface. The discovery that changed everything. In the early 1990s, a quiet team of researchers from Waseda University in Japan set foot on the Giza Plateau. Led by Dr. Sakuji Yoshimura, their mission seemed purely scientific: to study the ground beneath the Sphinx using electromagnetic sensors and to measure for underground water or weak spots that might threaten the monument. But as the machines hummed and the readings poured in, the desert began to reveal its secrets. The data showed strange anomalies beneath the Sphinx, shapes that were not random or natural. They were symmetrical, geometric, and deliberate. The most striking void appeared directly beneath the Sphinx's northern paw. More subtle patterns emerged between the paws, near the dream stele, and along a straight line stretching from the Sphinx's tail toward nearby temple ruins. When the findings were published in Japanese journals, they received little attention in the West, but the details were astonishing. The readings showed spaces large enough to be chambers, carved rather than cracked, beneath the limestone body. That quiet discovery in 1991 became the cornerstone of every investigation that followed. Years later, between 2009 and 2018, Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities conducted its own secret surveys using newer ground-penetrating radar and seismic reflection technology. These studies were meant only for conservation, to protect the Sphinx from damage. Yet when fragments of the data leaked, they confirmed what the Japanese team had seen decades earlier. Two anomalies stood out. The first, beneath the northern paw, measured roughly 9 meters long, 12 meters wide, and 3 meters deep, buried 7 to 8 meters below the surface. Its edges were too sharp, and its form too regular to be natural. The second anomaly ran along the Sphinx's central axis, stretching from its back toward the head, a narrow corridor or passageway as if connecting hidden spaces within. Then, in 2023, the mystery deepened once more. As part of a new initiative to create three-dimensional models of Egypt's monuments for virtual tourism, the Ministry of Tourism authorized a full digital scan of the Sphinx. Using artificial intelligence combined with computed tomography, the same type of imaging used in hospitals, every layer of the monument was mapped in stunning detail. What the scans revealed would change everything. Beneath the northern section of the Sphinx lay a massive hollow space, perfectly rectangular, measuring roughly 9 by 12 meters, with clear signs of possible openings or connecting shafts. For the first time, the evidence was not rumor or speculation. It was measurable. It was real. Core samples taken during conservation projects around the Sphinx added another puzzle. Some contained traces of granite dust, a stone not native to Giza's limestone terrain. Granite had to be brought from Aswan, hundreds of miles to the south, and was reserved for the most sacred structures. Its presence suggested deliberate building activity beneath the Sphinx, construction rather than coincidence. Ancient texts hinted at this long before modern science could prove it. The so-called inventory stela found near Giza speaks of a temple of Isis standing beside the Sphinx long before Pharaoh Khufu's time, implying the monument itself predated the 4th dynasty. Though dismissed by mainstream scholars as legend, even the ancient Egyptians seemed to regard the Sphinx as a relic from a forgotten age. For thousands of years, poets, priests, and explorers told of tunnels, sealed doors, and hidden chambers below the Sphinx, vaults of knowledge, perhaps even of humanity's earliest history. Now, the data suggested they might have been right all along. By 2024, Egypt's most famous archaeologist, Dr. Zahi Hawass, once the loudest skeptic, began to change his tone. In interviews, he cautiously acknowledged that recent surveys had indeed detected something beneath the monument. He refused to speculate further, saying only that Egypt was not yet ready for what might be found. The question was no longer whether something lay beneath. It was what and why it had been hidden for so long. The Forbidden Dig. While the Japanese and later Egyptian surveys had confirmed a man-made chamber beneath the Sphinx's northern paw, what happened next ensured that no one would ever see it again. In the late 1990s, a team of foreign researchers working under Egyptian authorization was abruptly expelled from Giza. Their excavation permits were revoked overnight. Their data was seized, their findings classified. No official explanation was ever offered. Whispers soon filled the void. There were rumors of a sealed doorway uncovered during maintenance work, of a chamber glimpsed beneath the Sphinx's northern paw before it was refilled with sand. Dr. Zahi Hawass, then Egypt's director of antiquities, denied any wrongdoing. He maintained that the expulsions were a matter of national policy, that Egypt alone would decide when and how its ancient secrets could be explored. To his supporters, Hawass was a patriot defending his country's heritage from exploitation. To his critics, he was the gatekeeper of forbidden knowledge, a man protecting the status quo at the expense of truth. Over the decades, similar stories continued to surface. Workers spoke of hollow echoes heard beneath the monument's base, of faint vibrations suggesting empty spaces below. One tale from the 1970s, impossible to verify yet impossible to dismiss, described a group of laborers who accidentally broke through to a small chamber beneath the paw, glimpsed smooth, worked stone walls, and were ordered to seal it immediately. Another account, from 2008, told of a maintenance team repairing the Sphinx's drainage system who claimed to hear hollow reverberations when striking certain parts of the ground, the unmistakable sound of voids beneath the surface. Nothing was confirmed, nothing was denied. The desert swallowed the truth as quickly as it revealed it. Among archaeologists, one idea lingered: the forbidden possibility that the chamber beneath the Sphinx might contain pre-dynastic artifacts, evidence of a civilization older and more advanced than any known to history. Such a revelation would not merely rewrite Egyptian chronology, it would challenge the very foundations of human civilization itself. For Egypt's leadership, that possibility was perilous. A discovery too ancient, too inexplicable, could provoke not only academic turmoil, but religious and political upheaval. The narrative of Egypt's proud linear history, from primitive beginnings to pharaonic splendor, might suddenly collapse under the weight of an older truth. By the time Zahi Hawass entered his late 70s, the burden of this enigma had become personal. He had spent 5 decades walking the sands of Giza, uncovering tombs, restoring temples, and introducing Egypt's wonders to the world. Yet the Sphinx, the monument he had guarded, studied, and loved, remained the one mystery he could not solve. In 2025, during a major archaeology conference in Cairo, Hawass made a rare and candid admission. "If I could dig beneath the Sphinx myself, I would," he said. "But these decisions are no longer mine alone to make. Perhaps the next generation of Egyptian archaeologists will finish what we started." His words were both proud and mournful. The man who once controlled the fate of Egypt's antiquities had become a prisoner of bureaucracy, politics, and legacy. Then came the event that reignited global obsession. In late 2024, AI-enhanced scan images of the Sphinx leaked online, high-resolution data from classified restoration work. The images revealed, with haunting precision, a vast geometric cavity beneath the northern section, complete with what appeared to be a sealed corridor. The world erupted. Social media exploded with speculation. Hashtags like #SphinxChamber and #HiddenTruth trended across the globe. Documentaries went into immediate production. Online analysts pored over every pixel of the leaked data, convinced that humanity was on the verge of uncovering something extraordinary. Public pressure mounted. International research institutions, universities, and private sponsors demanded that Egypt authorize a limited investigation, or at least a non-invasive probe using fiber optic cameras or robotic drones. But every request met the same quiet refusal. The Sphinx, as always, remained silent. Not because of ancient curses or divine guardians, but because of modern bureaucracy. And so the question endures, echoing through time and technology alike. If something truly lies beneath the Sphinx, verified by science, acknowledged by authorities, why has no one been allowed to see it? What secret could possibly justify half a century of silence? The secrets they fear to uncover. Egyptian law strictly forbids excavation directly beneath the Sphinx, without authorization from the highest levels of government. Officially, this restriction exists to protect the monument's fragile structure. The limestone that forms the Sphinx has endured more than 4,000 years of erosion, restoration, and damage. Even the smallest miscalculation could destabilize its base and cause a catastrophic collapse. But structural safety tells only part of the story. The Sphinx is more than stone. It is Egypt's identity. Every year, millions of tourists visit Giza, contributing billions to the economy. The story that accompanies it, the tale of pharaohs, dynasties, and timeless glory, is woven deeply into the nation's cultural fabric. To challenge that story, to even suggest that the monument might predate the pharaohs, is to unsettle Egypt's sense of self. What if the chamber beneath the Sphinx contained artifacts that rewrote human history? What if it proved that civilization began not 3,000 years before Christ, but thousands of years earlier, in an age now lost to memory? Such revelations would ignite debates that reach far beyond archaeology, touching religion, politics, and humanity's understanding of itself. For Egypt's leaders, the risk of uncertainty outweighs the lure of discovery. Better perhaps to let the sands keep their silence. Zahi Hawass, for decades the face of Egyptian archaeology, embodied that balance between discovery and control. To his critics, he was the man who locked the door beneath the Sphinx. To his supporters, he was the one who kept it safe from foreign exploitation. Both views hold truth. Since the age of Napoleon, foreign powers have taken Egypt's treasures: the Rosetta Stone in London, the bust of Nefertiti in Berlin, and entire tombs dismantled and shipped abroad. For centuries, outsiders controlled Egypt's narrative. Hawass fought to reclaim it. To him, the Sphinx was not just a monument, it was sovereignty carved in stone. And yet, that same sovereignty became a cage. To admit what modern scans revealed would mean acknowledging that Egypt's own history, the foundation of its pride, might be incomplete. It was a truth too heavy to bear. Behind closed doors, archaeologists and officials debated what should happen next. Some argued that any excavation risked destabilizing the monument. Others whispered that the real danger was ideological, that a discovery too ancient or too alien to accepted timelines could unravel the story Egypt had told the world for generations. Science had spoken. The data was real. But politics, pride, and fear kept the sand untouched, a monument not only to the past, but to humanity's hesitation to face its own forgotten truths. The Keeper's Confession. By the time Zahi Hawass entered his late 70s, the weight of history pressed heavily upon him. For more than 50 years he had walked among Egypt's tombs and temples, bringing their ancient glory to the modern world. He had unearthed forgotten kings, restored sacred monuments, and trained a generation of archaeologists to continue his life's work. Yet the greatest mystery of all, the Sphinx, remained unsolved. In the twilight of his career, Hawass began to speak more openly about the enigma that had followed him all his life. Gone was the absolute certainty that once defined him. What replaced it was quieter, more human, and far more honest. "I fought for Egypt's truth," he said in one of his final interviews. "I fought against those who would steal our heritage or sensationalize our past. But maybe, in protecting Egypt from lies, I also protected it from certain uncomfortable truths." It was the closest he had ever come to an admission. He confirmed that beneath the Sphinx lies a man-made space, constructed deliberately, not by accident. Decades of surveys and independent studies had shown the same results. The chambers are real. They are not natural fissures, but purposeful architecture, carved from the bedrock and sealed in antiquity. So why, after all this time, has no one been allowed to enter? Hawass explained that the answer lies not in science, but in politics and fear. It is not that modern engineering cannot explore the chambers safely. It can. It is that the implications of what might be found, or what might not, carry consequences far beyond archaeology. If the chambers contained nothing but sand, disappointment could damage Egypt's mystique, the mythology that sustains its tourism and cultural identity. But if they contained something world-changing, perhaps evidence of a civilization older than the pharaohs, the entire narrative of human history would have to be rewritten, and perhaps the world or Egypt itself is not yet ready for that. In a moment of remarkable honesty, Hawass used a metaphor that summed up his life's paradox. "The Sphinx has faced east toward the rising sun for thousands of years," he said. "It watches the light arrive, bringing truth and clarity. But I have spent my career facing west, guarding mysteries from that same light. Perhaps I was facing the wrong direction." There is, however, a flicker of hope that the sands may not remain sealed forever. In 2025, a new proposal was submitted to Egypt's Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities for a limited excavation beneath the northern paw. The plan called for digging a vertical shaft several meters away, then tunneling horizontally at depth to reach the chamber safely. It was cautious, precise, and scientifically sound. As of now, the proposal awaits approval. Some archaeologists believe permission could come within a year. Others predict it may take decades. In the meantime, new technology, AI-enhanced tomography and muon detection, may offer a non-invasive way to look inside. If those methods confirm the presence of artifacts or architecture, Egypt may finally have the justification to open the chamber. But perhaps the most meaningful revelation has already occurred, not beneath the Sphinx, but within Hawass himself. By acknowledging that the chambers exist and that access has been deliberately restricted, he validated decades of researchers once dismissed as dreamers. For half a century, Zahi Hawass stood as the gatekeeper of that fear. In the end, he recognized that the real treasure buried at Giza was not gold or papyrus, but courage. The courage to face what time has tried to hide, and to accept whatever truth emerges when the sand is finally disturbed. What do you believe waits beneath the Sphinx? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this journey through Egypt's hidden past, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us again as we uncover more secrets lost to time.